Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambeau channel. Now that XRP is the only large cap cryptocurrency on the entire planet that has legal clarity in the United States, what does that mean for potential future price action? Well, you know what's not sufficiently considered, from my perspective anyway, is the implications from the institutional side. Because in terms of institutional demand, that's where some of the big money is, right? Well, look at this headline from you today. XRP poised for boom as Uphold CEO predicts major institutional interest. Yeah, I would guess so. And then there's also this from the Crypto Basics. Sentiment shows surge in XRP active addresses and whale accumulation. So, folks, it's just been incredibly exciting and fascinating to see how humans have been behaving since XRP received legal clarity here in the good old United States. And I know it looks like price has stalled a little bit, but that type of thing happens. It's not the end of the world. We've lived through this before. But look, before going further, I do want to be clear. I do not have a financial background of any kind. I'm not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. Now, as I record this video, XRP is at 77 cents, Bitcoin a hair over 30,000 bucks, and market cap for the asset class $1.2 trillion. Now, Live Coin Watch, they reformatted their front page, and Bitcoin dominance is no longer here, and I haven't taken the time to figure out where it is. I normally report on that when I give just a quick recap in terms of price action, so I'll figure out where they're hiding it on their site. Presumably, it's still here somewhere. Not critical. I mean, it hasn't. I'm sure it hasn't made a huge change, but just thought I'd note that in case anybody was curious why I'm not mentioning that at this particular moment. And then you got the Crypto Fear and Greed Index at 52 out of 100, which is neutral. So, not surprisingly, given what's happened in recent days, people ain't feeling so greedy. And it does look like the price action of XRP has stalled a little bit. But this isn't the first time, which is why I think that most of you, if not all of you, will appreciate what XRP community member Frecky had to say. Now, Frecky's been in crypto since 2011 and happens to actually work in finance, and he tagged me in this tweet where he wrote the following. I call investing delayed gratification. You save/invest now versus buying things today, even if you really want them, to grow your wealth larger, accumulation plus compounding wealth. Then you can buy a substantially better life later / give your family more. Right, and so I totally agree with that. And that's why I live. I'm a big fan of living beneath one's means. I do that. I live substantially beneath my means because stuff is great. It can be fun. It's cool to have toys and whatever. But you know what's way better than that? Is knowing that you don't have to worry about money ever again. That's way better. That is way, way, way better than stuff. Let me assure you of that. So when it comes to investing, and this is the approach that I always take, whether it's investing, in equities, whether it's investing in crypto, it is this concept of delayed gratification. I don't know how long it's going to take for stuff to be worth way, way, way more than I'd like it to be, but that doesn't matter. I don't get to choose that. I invest and then I wait and I see what happens. But I don't get impatient. I don't get in and out of positions, and I don't waste money on stuff when I could be, investing it so that it becomes worth more. Compound interest has been dubbed the eighth wonder of the world for good reason. Compound interest is substantial. And so when it comes to investing in crypto specifically, though, it's just there's never been an investment vehicle where, like if you compare it to legacy finance and what happens in equities, there's never been anything where you can invest this. Outside of scams, there's never been anything where you can invest and in a relatively short period of time end up with life-changing wealth. And this is something that's possible for the everyday person, which is something that I always find so empowering. Regular people of modest means, if they just control their emotions, they do a sufficient amount of research, put the money in the right things. As it pertains to crypto, yes, it is real that life-changing wealth can be achieved. Now, of course, it doesn't mean there's no risk, and I always cite that as well. You can fumble this one. People can and do fumble this, and there's all sorts of risks. But it doesn't mean the opportunity isn't there. And so I just thought I'd mention that because we're kind of moving sideways. And there's this tweet from the Blockchain Backer the other day, and he shared this screen grab XRP USD charts, and he said, as shown yesterday, the steam was beginning to dissipate. While the range continues and range supports still hold, the momentum has definitely faded. Okay, so that's not the message that we want, but the blockchain backer is being the bearer of bad news. Not his fault. He's sharing facts here. And so, yes, XRP's been moving sideways, and we were hoping that it would have been way higher, but okay, fine. I understand all that jazz. But again, this is all about delayed gratification and understanding that, things aren't going to happen necessarily on the timeline that we want them to. It makes me think back to in 2020, there's a span of, it may have been months. I can't remember exactly. It felt like forever at the time. And for those of you that were around, you'll know what I'm talking about. I think it was in August and September, maybe part of October. I have to go back and look at the charts. But there's this period where it was just, I think it was literally months. XRP was just hanging around in this boring range. It seemed like it was doing nothing. It was never going to move. It was always in like the low 20 something cent range. Like, so it'd be 20 cents or 22 cents or 21 cents or 23 cents. And it was more or less around there for the vast majority of that time. Maybe sometimes it was a little higher or lower, but you get the cut of my jib. And that went on what felt like forever at the time. And people were sick of it. And that's all that was happening here. Until suddenly it wasn't. And then I think it was the beginning part of November, if memory serves. And again, you can go fact check this stuff. I know it's roughly correct. If you want the specifics, look at a damn chart. But I think it was the beginning part of November. XRP just started running, and there were all sorts of analysts that all at the same time were like, "Hey, here's the reasons ABC 1, 2, 3 that I think something's about to happen here," and then it did. After all that time of nothing happening, XRP just started running, and I think it ran up to, at that point in time, like 80 cents. And this is right before the SEC v. Ripple lawsuit, and then in 2021, that's when the euphoria kicked in, so we missed that. I mean, not entirely. XRP ran to $2, but I think otherwise we would have seen a new all-time high if not for the SEC nonsense. But the point being, it seems like it's never going to happen. So if you're one of those people, it's ranging for months or whatever it was, and it's 21 cents, it's never going to go. But you didn't know that, forget the nonsense about the SEC, but in terms of price action, you didn't know that about half a year later, it would be at $2. You don't know when it's going to. And so that's why for me, it's just about, look, if the signs are pointing to long-term viability for an asset, to me, that gets me there. That's sufficient for me to sleep easy. I'll just say that. I've been holding XRP for almost 6 years through all of the volatility. I held it when it was almost $4. I held it when it was 10 or 11 cents because it crashed down after it being about $4. It went down to 10 or 11 cents. And then it went up to 80 cents and then back down and then $2 and then back down again and down to 28 cents. I've been through all that. And I just, as long as there's reason to believe that it's going to persist, and I think there is, if you look in terms of increased developer activity and adoption of XRP, more people jumping into crypto, then I'm just like, okay. And then there's the institutional money side of this whole thing. And I don't really need to read this article, but this is the one titled XRP Poised for Boom as Uphold CEO Predicts Major Institutional Interest. And so they're covering an interview in which cryptocurrency exchange Uphold CEO Simon McLaughlin, he was asked a bunch of questions. And one of the things that he was talking about early on in the interview, because he's asked about it, is a new product that's going to be launching, I think he said in September, called Vault. And it allows you to have non-custodial access to crypto. They're actually going to start with XRP because they're so pro XRP. And so he said that there would be 3 keys, and then the user would hold 2 of them, and then Uphold would have 1 of them. And then that way, if the user loses a key, then they can go back to Uphold and get access again. I don't know all of the ins and outs, so I don't know if it's a good product, a bad product. I'm going to hold back on that. And I didn't research it further because that's not the point I want to get at. I'm sure I'll look into it at some point in the future. It sounds fascinating. I think Uphold is fantastic. I've been using them since 2018. But that's not the thing that I found most fascinating. They got to the point where, because they were asked, the CEO was asked, he's like, okay, so, well, you have business customers. Like, are you going to be doing custody for them on like an institutional side, stuff like that? And it got into this broader conversation about, so I think the answer would be yes, by the way, to that. And it got into this broader conversation about, isn't institutional money just going to come gushing in as adoption unfolds? And so what they ended up discussing, I think that this is such a salient point, and it's so true. XRP is the only large cap crypto on the planet that has legal clarity in the United States. So, if you're jumping into crypto, wouldn't that provide you sufficient confidence to put a certain amount of assets specifically into XRP where you otherwise wouldn't, had there been a negative outcome in the SEC v. Ripple case? So it's hard to overstate the degree to which this is going to be consequential, especially over a longer period of time. Like because you know how supply and demand works. I don't need to preach that to you. There's a finite amount of XRP. There's actually not that much of it. It sounds like a lot when you say 100 billion, but if you evenly distributed that out, I remember doing the math like half a decade ago. If you evenly distributed XRP out so that each human on the planet had an equal amount, at that time anyway, based on whatever the circulating supply was, or maybe it was the total supply, I actually can't remember, not that it would change the numbers that much, but it came out to each human would have like 12 XRP. If evenly distributed. Do you have more than 12? You greedy SOB. You know what I'm saying? So there's not that much out there. There really isn't. And, it's deflationary. A little bit of XRP gets burnt every single day. So it's just fascinating. So just tuck that away in the back of your mind, especially as we get into bull territory. It's not just going to be retail investors jumping in, but on the institutional side. Why wouldn't you want to get you a piece of XRP if you want to, especially if you want to diversify? And you understand it's been around over a decade. The technology is obviously incredibly solid. It doesn't constantly need to be patched like other blockchains, and you don't need a bunch of layer 2 technology for XRP when it comes to actually using it in place of fiat currency, like is the problem with Bitcoin and the Lightning Network. You don't need all that stuff. It just works out the box. It just does. Might that be interesting? Like, we are so spoiled. All of you have moved XRP, obviously, right? Like, moving it from address to address. It's a few seconds. It's basically real time. And then try doing that with Bitcoin. It's just like, ugh. And I bet you all can relate to this too. We've all had this moment where you transfer your Bitcoin, and then since it's not instantaneous, like, oh God, did I do it right? Oh my God, am I going to lose it all? Because I had that. I remember dealing with that crap like in 2017 when there was high congestion, and there was a period where it was, I want to say, over 24 hours from when I sent my Bitcoin to when it went to the intended address. And I was just like, am I going to lose everything? It's one of those things. It's just, we are so spoiled. And so anyway, my point being, isn't that kind of interesting? If you're in an institutional level, might you recognize the actual utility here? I think the clear answer is yes, ultimately. And so anyway, I think that they see then, so when it comes to adoption and utility and custody and all this stuff, XRP's got the green light from a legal perspective here. I think the money over time comes just flowing in. And then there's also this from the Crypto Basics. Sentiment shows surge in XRP active addresses and whale accumulation. Ooh, them splishy splashy whales getting aquatic AF. Just having a good old time. Piece reads as follows. Following Ripple's victory over the United States Securities and Exchange Commission last week and Judge Annalisa Torres' classification of XRP as a non-security, interest in the XRP ledger native token has increased exponentially. This is evidenced in the astounding growth of active addresses on the XRP network over the past month and year. According to insights from the popular behavior analytics platform Sentiment, active addresses on the crypto network saw an average increase of 23.7% in the last 30 days. Accordingly, this stupendous one-month growth resulted in an average increase of 43.2% in the 365-day active addresses count on the network. Further, Sentiment noted that watching the developments with active addresses is essential to understand how XRP price would behave in the coming weeks and months. Yeah, and by the way, so not just that, and for those of you who care to look at your screen, take a look at this chart in the middle here. This is the number of new XRP accounts created since the beginning of this year up until just yesterday, July 21st. And so you can see there have been little spikes here and there throughout the year, but for most of the year, if you're just looking at a time, just kind of like a random point in time where there's not a lot of excitement, there's nothing that's moving speculators one way or another, not really. On any given day, there's anywhere from call it 1,000 to maybe roughly 1,200 new accounts on the XRP ledger created. And there are some little spikes here. But then you get the clarity on July 13th from Judge Annalisa Torres. And you jump from a regular... here, let's see what was the day before. Yeah, 1,111 accounts created July 12th, the day before the decision from Judge Torres. The next day, 6,207. Woo! Massive jump up. So it's like you can pick your metric, and then the day after that, till 5,559, and then it jumped down a bit. But shouldn't be too terribly surprising. The greatest excitement was the first day and then the second day, but there's to this point sustained interest, at least so far. And yeah, I think it'll kind of to whatever degree taper off, but it's not going to go away. People are paying more attention than they were before, certainly, and the market will just keep getting hotter and hotter as time passes. That's just, as far as I'm concerned, as close to an undeniable fact of life as possible. Like there's going to be more and more money flowing into crypto just in general. The asset class is going to be way bigger as time passes. And so it's just exciting to see that. Anyway, the piece continues from the Crypto Basic. The leading blockchain analytic platform revealed that millions of XRP tokens had been bagged by deep-pocketed investors even before the exciting ruling in the SEC v. Ripple case. In particular, the latest sentiment data showed that approximately 838 million XRP tokens have been accumulated by addresses holding between 100,000 to 100 million XRP tokens since May. So, and I reported on all this stuff at the time, like leading up to this. I told you, the whales were positioning themselves for this. They were placing the bet that we were going to get legal clarity for XRP. That couldn't have been more obvious. As the positive news came out in March with the Daubert motions, that would be the ruling from Judge Torres having to do with the expert witnesses. Massive one for Ripple on that front. XRP went on a tear. Then when the Henman stuff broke, which I believe was the beginning part of May, again, XRP just goes on a tear. And then mega tear compared to that happened when we got the ruling. But I still, like, even that, as exciting and fun as that was, seeing the price just about double in a matter of hours, and that is something. That's like, as far as I'm concerned, it's like a glimpse of what is yet to come. That's what I suspect is the case here. So I could be wrong, and XRP goes to zero. I don't know. I'm just like you guys. I don't have any special insight, insider information or anything like that. I just look at basic stuff like any outsider would. You just, here are the metrics. Here's what's happening in terms of XRP adoption. Here's what's happening in terms of the crypto asset class directionally. And BlackRock coming in. Oh my God, it couldn't be more obvious. You don't have to be a genius. You don't have to be some sort of financial professional to understand those basic things. Don't those things matter? Isn't that enough to persuade one to think, it might be worth considering doing something, Do you think? So that's why I'm glad. I'm just going to sit back and do absolutely nothing. It's all about delayed gratification. I've been at this almost 6 years. One day, it's just going to come. There will be a new all-time high and we'll enter price discovery. That's what I'm counting on anyway. And we'll see what happens. Nothing's guaranteed in life, certainly not in investing. I don't pretend to know. But I've never felt so optimistic and so thankful for the position that I built up over a span of years. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.